Researchers have determined what makes a fulfilling relationship and how to identify narcissism, because apparently that's a thing that a lot of people need to know. The number of times I've had to explain Darvo to my friends is deeply concerning. First off, researchers found that having security seemed to be the thing that led to the most fulfillment. Yes, who would have thought that fearing that your partner will leave at any moment will result in an unhappy relationship? This is, by the way, a classic control tactic that people will use in order to keep other people on edge. So long as they feel insecure, the other person will chase. That in itself, first off, means that narcissistic individuals will never be happy. Next up, we have trust. Yes, you do in fact have to be able to trust your partner in order to have a fulfilling relationship, because otherwise you're always going to be suspicious and you're always going to be on edge. Another thing that, the latter pretty much ensures that you can't have. And of course, both people have to pull their weight. One person cannot do all of the emotional labor for the other. And there are some others, which, might be obvious. But let's talk about identifying narcissism in others. This is only to keep you safe. You cannot make a medical diagnosis on behalf of another person, but you can identify when they're probably not a very good person. Narcissism is considered to be a theory of mind issue, meaning at some point in their early development, they never made it to the point where they understand that other people have thoughts, feelings, and their own internal worlds. This could be genetic, but could also be trauma-induced. Either way, these people do a lot of harm in their lives. If you are unfortunate enough to end up in a situation where you're in contact with a narcissist, you'll notice these things. Particularly so if you're in a romantic relationship, it's going to start by being very intense. This is that classic thing where people say, "I love you," too early, and just go above and beyond to treat you well, or at least you think you're being treated well. You'll definitely notice that you're being gaslit. Now, narcissists in general have an extraordinarily difficult time with accepting their own wrongdoings. Gaslighting is a form of controlling behavior in which they will distort reality. People often describe doubting their own memories and feeling like they're crazy. This can often be seen where you say, "Hey, you did this thing was bad," and they tell you no they didn't and provide an alternative reality. Another common issue for narcissists is ignoring boundaries. Because these people lack effective empathy, so the capacity to feel bad for harming another person or the capacity to experience another person's emotions is highly diminished. As a result, they don't see much issue with violating boundaries. This is the kind of person who might go through your stuff, or read your text messages, or otherwise not accept your boundaries. And of course, Darvo. This will exist in a lot of people who just never learn to have appropriate arguments. It's overall a very immature way of dealing with arguments and ultimately results in everyone's unhappiness. Darvo stands for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. You'll see this whenever you try to tell somebody, "Hey, you did something wrong," and all of a sudden, you are now the bad guy for having brought it up at all. How dare you bring up that shitty thing that they did? You're clearly unreasonable. This can often look like either denying that the event occurred at all, or denying the impact of the event, and that's followed by an attack. The attack may be related to the event, or the attack may just be personal. It could be entirely unrelated, and people will often experience this as whatever they had told this person before that was vulnerable is now being turned against them. If their person has a high degree of cognitive empathy, so that's the ability to understand how others feel without the effective part, which is actually feeling it, they can be quite effective at this. It's been documented that this particular group of people will hold on to vulnerable pieces and then use them later. And of course, there's a lot of other little things like nitpicking, but shifting blame and responsibility is common. These are the kind of people who will take any little flaw you have and poke at it. An important note is that people with narcissistic personality disorder can get better, but it's going to take a lot of therapy, and you cannot fix them. If you happen to be a neuropsychiatrist with an expertise in narcissism, you might be able to fix them, but that is still not recommended by anyone. One of the issues is that this is a group of people who is incredibly self-absorbed, refuses to admit any of their own faults, and therefore are very unlikely to ever get help. If it makes you feel any better, everything about their personality, their behaviors, ensures their own unhappiness. Essentially, they've just made sure of that everything in a fulfilling relationship is just out of reach. If you're dealing with any of these issues, I do recommend seeking counseling and speaking to a mental health professional who can talk you through it. It's alarmingly common.